The Education Ministry is once again facing criticism for its prolonged failure to account for billions in public funds. The Auditor General's 2023 annual report reveals the ministry has not submitted its appropriation accounts for a staggering 24 years. The executive director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal describes the situation as an accountability crisis, identifying the Ministry of Education along with the Ministries of Health and Labour as repeat offenders. With more on that development, here's Ramon Gordon.
The Education Ministry is once again under fire, slammed by JAMP for what it calls a deepening accountability crisis. For over 2 decades, the ministry, under both JLP and PNP administrations, has failed to submit certain financial records, raising serious concerns about how taxpayer dollars are being spent. According to the Auditor General, the ministry's failure to provide appropriation accounts has created a 24-year accountability gap, making it impossible to track the responsible use of billions in public funds.
It is not saying the money is missing. Yeah. We just don't know how it was spent. Whilst the Auditor General is speaking about the inability to advise us that all is well, she has been ringing alarm bells about many things in these ministries that are not well.
But the revelations go even further. The Auditor General's report exposes that more than $3 trillion in public expenditure across ministries remains unaccounted for. The Health and Labour ministries are listed among the worst culprits, with repeated delays and inaccuracies in their financial submissions.
These are actually financial crimes we're talking about. It's legislation that is being broken, which translates into a crime, which translates into a criminal offense. The simple principle of this is not your funds. These are our hard-earned monies that we have turned over for the benefit of the society, and they simply are required to tell us what you do with the money at the end of the year.
Finance Minister Favour Williams recently addressed the growing outrage, claiming ministries, departments and agencies submit monthly reports to the Finance Ministry to ensure transparency. Calder says that's insufficient.
I want to ask Mrs. Williams, with the greatest of respect, as someone coming from the private sector, if her company had been found to be out of compliance with a failure to report, and if her management team and her CEO failed for 1 year, 2 years in a row to come back to her and say, this is how I spent your hard-earned money, would Mrs. Williams respond in the way that she did today? And the answer is no. Not good enough for her business. It's not good enough for the country of Jamaica.
Even more troubling, the Houses of Parliament, the Ministry of Finance and the Office of the Prime Minister are also listed as offenders.
By next week, Tuesday, I would like to have a skeletal frame as to how the Prime Minister himself is going to have to superintend this to ensure that it gets done. But here is my concern. We opened the year in January with the Gleaners headline saying there's $1 trillion crisis.
Yes.
Nothing moved.
Yes.
I am worried that if the people of Jamaica don't find a way to let the Prime Minister know how this is a betrayal of the people and their assets, then I don't think anything is going to move, unfortunately.
CVM News contacted the Education Ministry for a response, but there was no comment up to news time. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.